Guild Wars 2 and India's second publisher Newsoft have laid off an unknown number of staff at its mobile gaming division, Iron Tiger Studios. A company spokesperson confirmed the news to Venture Beat, but stopped short of revealing exactly how many employees had been let go. Newsoft established Iron Tiger back in 2015 and tasked the California-based studio with developing original mobile games inspired by its existing franchises. The company had been working on an unannounced title, but that project is now being handed over to a third-party developer, while Iron Tiger is shaped by Newsoft. In the meantime, the San Mateo outfit will continue to publish and operate mobile titles including Ion, Agents of War. Chinese regulators are once again reviewing games submitted for license consideration in China, putting an end to the licensing freeze that had halted game approvals for the bulk of 2018, according to TechCrunch. One set of games has already been evaluated under the freshly restructured system, and that licenses for approved games should be assigned in the near future. Prior to today, Chinese game makers had been enduring a 9-month-long freeze on the approval process that typically greenlights games for release and monetization in China. The halt was the result of an internal power reshuffling that now sees the government's Central Propaganda Committee State Administration of Press Publication taking control of the approval process, a move that aims to give the central government more control over the country's game market. Now up and running again, the approval process is both looking to bar games that are deemed to contain pornography, gambling, violence, historical misrepresentations, and other potentially inappropriate content, according to a statement made by a senior member of the Chinese Communist Party's propaganda department. In the wake of the approval fall, TechCrunch reports that shares of major Chinese game makers have already seen a notable rise. Tencent's shares have increased by 4% since the announcement, while NetEase has seen a 1% increase. The elegance of first-time user experience in Valve's The Lab, even almost 3 years post-release. Valve's The Lab is still my go-to way of introducing people to virtual reality. Why? It's polished, and funny, and fun, and there is a ton of very different content to make around in. But what makes it such an ideal gateway drug for room-scale VR is the total elegance of its first-time user experience. In the last year, VR games have, by and large, improved a lot at getting players fluent at their own controls and mechanics. Beat Saber is the phenomenon it is in part because it's so easy to pick up the controllers and get caught chopping. Google has shown continued improvement in Tilt Brush and Google Earth by expanding their tutorials to slowly introduce players to their full functionalities. With Creed, Rise to Glory, Survios has finally developed an experience as accessible as it is innovative. This trend is great, but I can think of no game that introduces a new player into the full rather of room-scale VR as quickly and invisibly as 2016 as alone. So how does Valve do it? Let's take it step by step. When the lab finishes loading, you find yourself in a drab, barren environment. A pair of slightly animated figures, a single wall, a spotlight, a few props, a menu, subtle ambient sound. This is not exciting. This is not Half-Life VR. What gives? Actually, the simplicity of this scene is of great benefit to new users. Just having an HMD covering your eyes can be overwhelming for some new users. But most anyone who has not experienced VR is going to find the realistic parallax a lot to take in. Simple magic is still magic. so the lack of overwhelming stimulus is a comfort, especially considering how many first-time demos take place in public. Trying to negotiate a bunch of flashing lights and moving parts, well, still aware that there are people you cannot see looking at you, well, Grandpa might find that a little intimidating. This simplicity here ensures that a new user is not going to have to worry they are totally screwing up in front of friends and strangers. But it's also very functional. That all the detail of the room is consolidated in one direction means there is no confusion about where you should be looking or what needs doing. But those buttons, they are too far away to reach without physically walking forward. After a few abortive attempts on just pointing at them, players figure out they need to walk forward, so they walk forward, and just like that room scale tracking is understood, physically walking around virtual space is not something that anyone was fluent in before room scale VR. First-timers I have put in Beat Saber have about a 50% chance of needing to be told they can take a step. Most everybody I have started in Google Earth does not move their body until they decide to lean down to look at a city. The functionality of the menu ensures that you understand your controller's ways of interacting directly with the world. There's no feedback until you physically touch the menu, at which point the controller vibrates and the relevant controller button glows. So you will learn that the controller has all sorts of abstract functionality to teleportation, level selection, game-specific functions, but the concept of controllers as hands is introduced first. After selecting Play Intro, the iconic little dudes demonstrate what you are going to be doing. One of them picks up something and sticks his face in it. The motion blur suggests has been sucked into the globe. His friend rejoices, affirming this was the correct action to take. The sequence is basically a real-time 3-panel comic. Compare this approach to, say, the level of abstraction that text-based instructions for this would require. Read the mysterious op. Try and tweet it. Instead, get sucked into the world it contains. Not as clear, right? Text-based verbal instructions would also need to be localized into dozens of languages. The go action is then repeated by the other little dude to reinforce the lesson. Then both controllers start vibrating to call your attention to the blinking button that will allow you to get over there. Pressing the navigate button gives you a lot of feedback. Valid teleport locations are reinforced with color, a play space box, an animated arc, an endpoint icon, and a small cylinder appearing above the valid teleport endpoint icon. I have seen a lot of new users get disoriented by teleportation, but not ever in this room. It's always very clear where you are, and also clear that there's no rush for you to do anything. Oh, music. No larger story, no big moving parts, etc. The level ups are, to me, one of the most beautiful designs in VR. The cube map textures contrast starkly with the more cartoony lab world, and the perspective shift within the op invites curiosity. A curiosity which encourages bringing it closer for a better look, the very action you are supposed to take to trigger its function. This is elegant design. Exactly what you most want to do is exactly what you are supposed to do. When the world logs, you find yourself among photoreal mountains bathing in sunlight, accompanied by the poppiest cutest robot dog this side of Able. The message here, there are surprises in VO. Good surprises. Your organ is reminded of the teleport buttons by haptic feedback, tooltips, and blinking. But as you look down to read the instructions, right in your line of sight are some sticks and a dog. So maybe you put 2 and 2 together. But if you want to play fetch right this very minute, you will have to ignore the instructions. It's a little subversive to do so, but it also reinforces the lab's goal to get you playing the way you want to play. The agency is yours, and the world will respond. Shake the stick and the dog, like a dog will, runs over to playing. 2 minutes ago, a first-time user was probably feeling a little out of their depth, getting strapped into a headset, getting cut off from the world by headphones, and feeling the unfamiliar controllers in their hands. Now, they are playing fetch on some scenic vista with a very eager companion, blissfully unaware that they have just gained proficiency in most everything they need to navigate immersive virtual worlds.